Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have the great Chris Jollay of Nova Hoops. And this is a very important day for basketball and for the whole country because not because it's Thanksgiving almost, it's because the inaugural Nova 19 of the 25-26 season's coming out. Chris is gonna make a lot of friends and maybe one or two enemies. There you go. I got the coffee up. Chris, great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for doing this.
Julian, it's great to see you. I'm just so excited. It's basketball season again. It's the best time of year. And the rankings that we post today, yeah, there's something. I've been getting the text from the coaches, hey, don't rank us too high, or, you know, if you want to rank us out so I can use it as bulletin board material, that's fine too, all that stuff. And it's just fun to talk basketball. It's going to be a fun year. There's going to be, maybe not as predictable as some of the previous years in some respects, at least.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, I guess that's a good excuse for you. For now on, if you don't rate someone that highly, so look, I didn't want to put a lot of pressure on you. I did it for you. I put you at number 18 because I didn't want to heap pressure on you. Real quickly, Chris is a graduate of George Mason, coached at Robinson and some other stops, and has been doing Nova hoops for about what 15 years now, Chris?
No, God, it feels like 15 years. I was going to mention this. Next year will be our 10th year anniversary.
Well, congratulations. It's great to have a source where we can go get the schedules, get the results, but most importantly, get real analysis, give the kids some exposure, coaches some exposure. I know in other sports we don't have this. We have, like in football, we don't have this for Nova. We have lots of social media outlets where people talk a lot and post pictures. And soccer, I try to do a little bit of what you do in soccer, but it's a big job because you cover the whole Northern Virginia where I just do Fairfax, Arlington, Alexandria. It's really important to have that resource. So, you mentioned today that you just mentioned already that it's difficult to pick a Nova 19. And I think there's a notion that the region is down this year. We're going to do boys today and do a separate for girls because I thought last year we kind of breezed through the girls so fast and we got some pushback from some people. So I wanted to make sure that didn't happen this year. I want to make sure we can take our time a little bit. But do you think a region can be down? Obviously, teams can be down. You have kids graduate and you're not going to be good. But when you say a region is down, is that really a thing, or is that no matter what happens, it's Northern Virginia basketball. Teams are going to rise and fall. Players that we don't know about are going to emerge. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you covered that well on your last podcast. I think it was Doug Craig that had a really good answer to that. The region is so deep. The depth in this region, the depth of quality coaching, the depth of quality players is seemingly unendless now. I mean, excuse me, endless now. Yeah, so I don't consider it a down year. I mean, you have to look the last couple years of the transfers out of public school basketball. I mean, to do that is just ignoring the obvious. This year is a crazy year with the transfers, but it's not just the public schools either. Paul the Sixth lost four kids off their roster this year. One going to John Marshall in Richmond, one going to I believe it was Gillian Academy. There's two kind of, you say new, one's Gillian Academy, one's Bethel Academy in Springfield. And they're kind of like basketball, they're not school. Actually, I believe Bethel is a school, but, they're not really, they're there to train basketball players.
Yeah.
And now what you're seeing is, whereas at one point, the kind of the old giants in private schools were taking kids away. Now you see even those academies, and the St. James Academy obviously is the big dog now in the area, taking private school players
Yeah.
away. And it's a factor. I mean, and you certainly have to see that. I mean, it's my belief that Northern Virginia would dominate if not for so many private schools that we have. I mean, and private schools are great. Um, but the talent around here is just unbelievable. I mean, talk about the 757 all you want, and there's a lot of basketball history down there, and Richmond is great too. Northern Virginia has more depth than just anybody. in Virginia. I mean, it's not even debatable in my mind. So I think this year will be fun.
Yeah, yeah, it will be. And Chris, you cover the private schools, not, and I don't. Are you going to
Mhm.
cover the so-called academies, or are you going to stick to more of the brick and mortar private schools?
So it's a tough question. I don't believe I am going to cover the academies at all. So I'm gonna kind of regulate it like, are you in the VISAA, which is the equivalent to VHSL? And if they're not, I'm not going to cover them. And it's a big thing, you know. I mean, sure, I get better basketball if I go cover Bethel Academy playing, some academy from North Carolina. But I also get a packed gym for McLean Langley, where people are waiting outside, and I get students reading my stuff. And 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 I'm not ever going to say a kid shouldn't go somewhere, because they need to do what's best for them. But from a newsworthy standpoint, if you're a high school kid, unless you're the best prospect in the area, you're not newsworthy yet.
Yeah.
So let's, say that. And there's plenty of sites that'll rank you and all that with as a prospect. I'm in it to cover McLean Langley,
Yeah.
to see the lines going outside the gym, to have the student excitement. And there's something to be said for that, playing in front of big crowds too.
Yeah. This happened a little bit in football this year, in that the St. James took all the, well, they tried to take some oxygen out of the air because they're playing great teams, and they have great players, and they end up being number two in the Washington Post. The problem is the games are generally they're showcases. They're chances for the kids to show how good they are. The academies generally are kids for the players to develop into players that can play at college. But the games don't have the same meaning. Now, when they played St. Francis in Baltimore, it was a huge environment. I understand it was a sellout up there, small field, but a sellout out there. It's great. But I mean, the next game, St. Francis's game got canceled. The team didn't want to play. One thing about public school and I guess private school, the playoffs mean something. Whether or not you're getting developed like you are at these academies, that's another question. But the public school playoffs are always going to mean something. Right now, we're in the playoffs in football. And it doesn't matter if the players aren't as good as the academies. Those games mean something. There's history involved. And I know as journalists, me and you, we love the history. We love to know how it's going to evolve. Will Kevin Roller be able to run his rollerball thing? Will Kevin Harris be able to win a state championship? Those things mean something to us.
Right. I mean, and those are the stories. And I'm not going to get into the general state of basketball. A lot of this has obviously trickled down from college basketball. It's a different ball game now. When you have Kai Robinson, who was the player of the regional player of the year, I believe, who went to Mary Washington. Mary Washington is fantastic. The Division III schools around here recruit Northern Virginia like nobody's business, and they get rewarded for it, frankly.
Yeah.
Kai Robinson is averaging 27.7 points a game for Mary Washington right now. This is a Division I player. And the colleges weren't interested in him. The Division I colleges, because he's essentially was 17, 18 years old. So, these kids got to do what they got to do. And I love the St. James. I love Coach Overton. I'm actually a big Coach Overton fan. I think he's a great guy. So I don't begrudge what they're doing. I kind of actually like what they're doing, developing these kids, because the college game has made it how it is. These kids got to do what they got to do if their dream is to be a Division I basketball player. So, but you nailed it, buddy. I mean, we're historical. I was said I'm not going to get in this too much. I talk with you all day. We'll have a 4-hour podcast if we're not careful.
Yeah.
I was talking with Clay Buckley last night, who's an assistant coach, for the Langley girls. And we were talking ACC basketball, from the 80s and the 90s. And you know how it is. Those institutions are part of the history. While it is the player, it's also the institutions. And it goes for high school basketball as well. And, when you look back, you do go, oh, remember seeing Stephon Marbury on the playground, and it is the person too, but it's also the institutions, like you say. And, it's part of what we love and what we are.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned Coach Overton there, and I agree. He's an amazing guy to talk to interview.
Yeah.
Jeff Overton got his first touchdown for Virginia Tech, and it was an unbelievable, explosive run. It was breathtaking. And someone would say, "Well, will we come back to Tech next year?" And all these questions, you may think you know the answer. There is so much money involved. You mentioned you're not gonna judge parents or however you said it about going to the academies. There's so much money involved. These kids are making more money than me and you make.
Yeah.
So who are we to judge? How they get there. It's a different level. It doesn't affect necessarily who we want to cover, but when players and families are making decisions about the best path for their families, like, will Jeff Overton go back to Tech? I'm sure he's got every intention. But if another college offers him $1 million to go there, I mean, it's unbelievable the decisions that these kids and their parents have to make these days. It's not like when you and I played back when the ball went to the net, you had to go up there and release it again. So
Yeah, and who am I to judge them? Although you're wrong, Nova Hoops makes me money hand over fist.
that's right. Yeah, that's
I
it.
don't know
Yeah,
what you're talking about with that. I mean, I'm independently wealthy, but moving
exactly.
on,
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned real quickly a player going from Paul VI to John Marshall. Did you mean Petersburg? The John Marshall folks that went to Petersburg, or they actually?
Actually, I think it was a John Marshall kid, but I could be wrong.
Wow, that's interesting.
Maybe it is Petersburg. This has been a heck of a year, Julian.
Yeah,
It's never been like this for me. I heard transfer rumors last week.
yeah.
The one of the Westfield kids, and I won't get into it. I got an email saying, "Oh, he transferred last week,"
Yeah.
and now I'm hearing he hasn't transferred. I don't even comment on it. It could change. I could write a preview. I still got a lot of previews coming out on NOVAHoops.com. I've done, three of the districts already. I got way more work to do. But it could change this week, buddy. I
Yeah.
mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard private school kids just show up at Gainesville. I don't think I think that the deck hasn't been completely handed out yet, and I think even so, the cards may change quickly. I understand you moved south, and I guess we were all afraid you weren't going to be able to cover basketball. So Chris has moved. What's going on with
Yeah,
Nova Hoops?
I love Northern Virginia. I've been in Northern Virginia 30 years. I went to George Mason, as you mentioned. I'm a Northern Virginia guy through and through. Getting a little tired of the traffic, so I moved down to Ladysmith, Virginia. I've been working out here at the YMCA in Caroline County, wearing Nova Hoops gear, and I get the Caroline people like, "Oh, what is this? Who is this guy?" I haven't started, Caroline hoops yet or Central Virginia hoops yet. My love is with Northern Virginia. I remote for my everyday job, so I'm able to do that. It's nice going to a coffee shop and not listening to traffic while I work, outside now. But yeah, I'm going to be up there constantly though, and I couldn't put down Nova Hoops if I tried. I mean, because I love doing it. At the end of the year, I'm proud of just tracking the standings in the schedule.
Yeah.
Because I love it. I love reading it. It's almost like when I write it, I read it later and I go, somebody else is writing it for me.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be out of Northern Virginia. I'm gonna be even more independently wealthy now because of some taxes that are coming off my back. Nah, but I love Northern Virginia. You'll see me up there at games, still constantly covering
So,
everything.
so you plan on trying to get up here as much as you can, or is it going to be more of an NFHS season?
Well, so I do want to do that. I was telling somebody last night, I want to get back. When I started Nova Hoops, I did more of a midweek kind of notebook session. And I would like to kind of get back to that where during middle week, instead of going to cover a game, and I love covering the games. I mean, it's my favorite thing to do. But I think my website could use a little more of that notebook anyway, where I get on the phone and I watch some NFHS, maybe on Tuesdays even. Instead of going out, just get the scoreboard out Tuesday night, watch games on NFHS. Twitter is empty then because all the people who read my stuff are playing basketball or coaching basketball or watching. But I think my site would stand to benefit from a little more of that anyway. So
So what happened is a similar thing happened to me. So I moved from Arlington to Leesburg, which is I guess still in the area, but it did change how I attended games. I used to go to all the Liberty games more, especially soccer, because they're right there. And now that I moved out here, I'm more liable to go to the Herndon game or South Lakes game or a Westfield game just because it's easier. But I do love the Liberty District and soccer, especially basketball too. But I did the same thing. One thing I will say in football, the Stafford County teams are great in football, great coaching, great
yeah.
athletes, and it's the same in basketball, of course. So you do you cover Stafford County, Chris?
I do now. I recently, about a couple years ago, I got the Commonwealth District. I
Mhm.
incorporated that in Riverbend and Massaponax, if I pronounced that right. They know I'm not from around here right away. I'm from, and I was born in Wisconsin. So,
Yeah.
but I don't cover them as far as their games. But I cover the entire district, and I'm starting to learn. I went to Colonial Forge last year. I am looking forward to the opportunity to cover in the Commonwealth more this year and also really Prince William County. I've covered Prince William County well, I would say, as a website. I'm looking forward to really giving them a little bit more coverage, I think, this year. I think they deserve it too.
Yeah.
As you know, there's some good athletes down there that can play.
There's a great reporter down there that does football named Devin Payne. I don't know if you met Devin.
I
Uh,
have, I believe.
yeah, he's really good. He gets great. He's a great reporter. Just high quality work. I think he's from up here, but he does a great job. Now, when you moved south, and I was afraid of 95. So we moved west because I mean the tolls are annoying, but 95 is a bear. Why'd you decide to go south instead of west?
Well, it was basically wherever I could afford, but I always kind of I mentioned I was from Wisconsin and I kind of want to live on water. And I was afraid to live on the Chesapeake Bay because I'll probably die if I do that, as I become a boater or whatever. So I wanted to live on a lake. There's a great website that says like Virginia lake houses. And they talk about Lake Holiday, Lake of the Woods, obviously Lake Anna, but I was priced out of there 15 years ago.
Right.
So I ended up in a place called Ladysmith at a lake called Landor
Awesome.
Lake, and I bought a plot of land there, and I'm trying to build a house out here that I can hopefully, die in one day. A one-story house, and it's going well. It's just, it's a lot, and interest rates have been pretty high. But Ladysmith is growing. I don't know if you noticed. By the way, 95 I don't know if you caught the tweets. Last night, the HOV on I-95 was $100 to get in the
Wow.
HOV lanes. So I was sitting there, as I said, I was watching a girls' game, Langley and Osborne Park, and talking to Clay Buckley. And I was like, wow, I made the right choice to get on some scrimmages. I wanted to make it down to Potomac, South County as well, but I was like, no, that just isn't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, they have increased the lanes. I think they're done with the construction, so it's like 6 or 8 around Fredericksburg. So it's gotten much better. And maybe I guess you can write off all those
It's
tolls with your.
doable. I'm a guy that'll get up in the morning early at 4 in the morning. I'll come into like our remote office. I'll avoid traffic. I'll go watch a ninth grade game this year before I'll get in the worst 95
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
But last night, man, there were people, even when I came out at like 9 o'clock, there's people driving 43 in the left lane, swerving. There were people going 105. I mean, it's if I go, it might be on 95.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you're in the hustle and bustle of Reston and Arlington. When you move out, you can see how the rest of the world lives. It's really enlightening. But anyway, we could talk about that for hours because I've recently we did the same thing. But let's get to the previews now.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Concorde and boys, and because South Lakes won the state title for the second straight year. Um, all eyes are on Westfield. Westfield's got a couple of Division One players at least. It depends on how the younger players develop. But I know South Lakes played a pretty good scrimmage against Potomac Falls the other day, from what I hear. So they're not dead yet. But when you look at the Concorde, I think it's a pretty wide open year this year, other than maybe Westfield.
Yeah, I mean Westfield, you guys have covered. Westfield is the team to beat. They've been building for this year for several years. Playing Paul the Six every year. We'll see how they do against Paul the Six this year as a measuring stick. The goal is a state title. That's what it is. Westfield, the only danger they have is getting bored during the regular season.
Yeah.
Even if they do have a transfer, it's not going to make too much of a difference to get to where they need to be. They are a beatable team, though. Woodson showed that last year. Now, Woodson lost a lot of the guys, obviously, that they had last year. Westfield is still the strong favorite, but they are beatable. So they really need to keep focused this whole year to get to where they want to be. And as you know, when you get to the state tournament, I mean, it's going to be brutal. And a couple teams, I believe I saw South County. I saw the first quarter of the scrimmage with Westfield. They did okay with Westfield. So, not a slam dunk, but their goal is a state title. The rest of the district has got some really good teams, Julian, in my opinion. South Lakes is going to be solid. People, always, with Merrick Realstone gone, in addition to Jordan Scott, they kind of write these teams off, but they're going to be good. They got a lot of returning guards, especially that are talented. Makai Ramos, Joshua Benjamin Dagby is going to be good. The little brother of I got at least one or two Dagbys who have proven themselves. They're good players. Oakton is one of my sleepers this year. Chantilly, Oakton and Chantilly. Oakton returns most of their roster, and they've got endless point guards, endless wings, and they can put defensive pressure on you all game. They're not going to be fun to play. Chantilly's good too. They got a point guard named Montio Alvarado, who can get into the lane. Vivon Desai is another guard they have that's very talented. Both those teams are going to be good. And of course, Madison is never not good. They're always dangerous by tournament time. Last year, McLean, as you know, was red hot coming out of Liberty, having won their tournament. And Madison, who finished last in the Concorde in the regular season, not only made the playoffs out of the Concorde, but they also defeated McLean in the first round of the playoffs. They've got ingredients. They've got a very good front court. Liam Whitehouse is there. They always run offense through their center, it seems like. I don't know if Kevin Roller's going to do that this year, but they've got a center.
Is he the big curly head kid? Is he the big curly head kid, Liam White?
I think Liam Whitehouse, yeah, is. I haven't seen him this year,
Yeah.
but he's a 6'5", 6'6" center. They had a guy that Michael. I just called him the Dink. This kid was hilarious. He had the announcer announce him as the Dink. His name was Dinkalaker or something like
He's a
that.
great passer. He was a great passer.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And Coach Roller was able to run his offense through him. And before that, he had the other center, graduated. I'm assuming if he's playing, Liam Whitehouse is that guy this year. And they've got guys that can score also. Centerville is going to be, they lost a lot, so maybe they're looking up at everybody else. But they got Jackson Davis's little brother, Maddox. And Maddox Davis is worth the price of admission alone. He's going to score like 18 to 20 a game, probably.
Yeah.
So this district from top to bottom is very solid.
Yeah. It's interesting, the Davises, because I'm actually Facebook friends with the mother, Gina, even though I've never met her. It's interesting that these two really talented guards are at Centerville, and in this day and age, when you have really good players, they either transfer to the public school closer to them that's good, Westfield or wherever, or they go to private school. It's so interesting that these kids stayed at Centerville, and Centerville's a great school, and I don't want to say anything bad about it, but I love that. Maybe it's because they both played football. I don't know if Maddox did, but I know Jackson was a good football player. Centerville Unfortunately, just lost, but they have a good football program. Maybe are they there because they're dual sports athletes or?
That's some of it. I think I don't know with Maddox. I don't know if he plays football, but that's certainly part of it. I mean, the Concord district was always known as that football district, you know. And if now, to be honest, and Coach Desmond, I guess I'll have to attribute this to Coach Desmond, is you could call it a basketball district just as well. Certainly South Lake's two-time state champions, and we might get another one in Westfield this year.
Exactly.
It's that's draw to kids. And I'm not going to say, but there are some private schools too that's their draw, that they also have a good football team. So
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I think you mentioned Mike Desmond. Sometimes when you have a lot of talent, people forget you can coach, and I think he's going to remind us this year.
yeah.
He's a very good coach, excellent coach. And then Kevin Harris, another excellent coach. Did Westfield schedule that incredible out of conference schedule this year that they had last year?
Oh, they did. I haven't looked at it hard, but I know they have Paul the Six early again.
Mhm.
Maybe even their opener. Yeah, they're not running from anybody. And
Yeah,
again, I think there's a little bit of it. I think the kids will get bored if they don't.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you know how repetitive it is already, just the two games, then the district tournament, then you
yeah,
might see that game, same team in the regional tournament.
yeah.
They need to get out of the house a little bit.
Yeah. Well, at least it's not quite as bad as the national. I think with Hayfield, I remember the second year they won the state championship. The national was so weak that year, and Carlos's team was so stacked. It was hard to keep the starters interested in the district games. At least the Concorde, great coaching, great players, and I'm like Nationals got some great coaches as well. But it's just not probably a basketball conference. But let's go to the other northern region district, which is the Liberty. And last year, Yorktown won the Yorktown won, or Marshall won Marshall or Yorktown won the district. But I know that the regular season. But I know McLean won the tournament. But Yorktown returns Player of the Year Jake Cullum.
Yeah, and you got to start right there. I wrote the preview of it, and first of all, I'm a big believer of when you win, and they won the regular season, it kind of carries over. You get that winning culture every year. That's how programs like Hayfield and Patriot and West Potomac can still be good, because you get that winning culture, and it's easier to maintain, basically. And yeah, start with Jake. What a point guard. Guy gets into the lane at will. He's got decent size too for a point guard. Really good player. And, if your player of the year is returning and he's a point guard. And the thing I like about Yorktown, is they have a lot of size. They have shooting. You had mentioned on your podcast the kid you like. I think his name James Davis,
Yeah.
the big kid who kind of came out a little bit last year. He had a 15-point game last year late. I think that's the kid you're referring to. But they have other kids. They have a ton of point guards. The interesting thing will be to see whether Kulam slides over and does a little bit more shooting guard and how much he has to score this year. But I think they're among the favorites. Liberty, I'm going to cover that tournament this year because McLean, it's a crapshoot, really. I watched Wakefield the other night. Wakefield is balanced. They've got some issues, but they've got talent, 1 through 10. They need to put some things together. They're like just barely there with size. They could probably use a little more shooting. But they have the ingredients. They're going to be dangerous. Marshall is probably the safe pick in that district, because again, he's Jerry Lynn over there has done a great job. He's got a great program. They always play defense. He's got kids returning. Trey Leonardo, who was a sophomore last year, can put it in the basket. And then a lot of people are talking about Washington Liberty as a sleeper. They've got the two kids that were freshmen last year. You should have seen Bobby Dobson last year. I don't know. Did you catch some WNL games
I don't
last
think
year?
I did. I saw him
Yeah.
recently at a Riverside tournament.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he had like a 19-man rotation last year. I mean, it was all these young kids. He was hockey line changing it. Two freshman bigs. You got two returning all district players. they're going to win more games, but they are, they did finish near the bottom of the district. And Langley is probably the real sleeper pick there. They got a big guy named Josh Tyner, who's, a double-double machine. A kid told me the other day weighed 300 pounds. I don't know if that's true. He may. He's a monster. He's like one of these 6'4", 6'5" kids that are just monsters, really strong. He's going to be a double-double guy. And Langley returns virtually their entire roster, and they have young talent coming in too. So, man, it's a crapshoot. Herndon has a new coach, but they have some talent. So it'll be eager to see, what he can bring in over there. I think I've covered, well, I haven't covered McLean, last year's Cinderella story. I'm worried about, I think it was Higgins, the kid they had down low
Yeah.
last year that played really good defense. Replacing him is actually going to be harder than some of the scoring. But they have talent too. I mean, they got a guy who can shoot named Jake Bell, and a lot of other smart, experienced players. So they're a threat to do exactly what they did last year, especially with I wouldn't say any teams in the Liberty are dominant. But they have the potential to have a lot of solid teams this year.
Yeah, I think it was a great analysis, Chris. I think Yorktown, I think could if those two guys that were sophomores last year, James and I forgot the other guy's name, if they keep developing, I think Yorktown could be special. I don't know, not Westfield special, but could be special. McLean, I did catch all three of those games last year in the Liberty. Jake Bell's shooting performance against Langley. At Langley, and Langley, I believe, was the top seed or the second seed, maybe the second seed in that tournament. And he must have made 7 or 8 3-pointers that night. One of the
Yeah.
best performances I saw all year. So anyway, I'm excited. Also, a good kid. The Josh Tyner kid you mentioned from Langley, I believe his dad played football for Notre Dame. He's a really,
Oh,
really,
wow.
yeah,
That
really
wouldn't
big guy.
surprise me at
Yeah,
all. I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
saw him. I was over at Langley last night, and I saw him walking through the halls, and I'm like, God, I wouldn't want to. I'm a grown man, and I wouldn't want to guard that kid. I mean, he's gonna, and in the public school ranks, a lot of it is, do you have just that one big man who can double it, every night? You don't need to have a Hakeem Olajuwon in the post.
yeah.
But if you have that kid that can do damage down low, it opens up so much.
Yeah, it is fun. It's also kind of a forgotten. Sometimes I think most offenses, the post player is kind of in the way. But like Madison last year, you mentioned their big guy was a great passer. The Dink, I think his name was. Well, these teams that have these big guys that can pass the ball, there's still room for that in today's
Yeah.
game. And I think we want to spread the floor, we want to shoot threes, we want to slash. But I like the post play, and I know you do too as a former coach. Well, let's go to the National. I think the National, like the Concorde, is going to be another chance for us to see how good a coach Carlos Poindexter is. I have a feeling this team is going to be good quickly, and I think everyone is assuming because they lost. I know they lost a kid to Bethel. We talked about that. I think everyone's assuming this is a rebuilding year, but I think we're going to see a really strong Hayfield team by the end of the season.
Yeah, and again, it gets into winning culture and program depth. I mean, these schools have, when you see Patriot out there to lose a couple of transfers, you go, well, that's too bad, but their program is so deep now, and Hayfield's is no exception. You watch their JV team any year, you go out there and you're like, oh, is this the varsity? You're a little confused at first, and you're like, oh no, it's not. Yeah, the I got to see them scrimmage Bishop Ireton, and I think Carlos referenced it on your podcast. They got their clock cleaned a little bit after the first quarter, maybe the first 3 quarters of the first quarter, but they also went up 7-5 on Bishop Ireton. Christian Toe, he's the son of Lee Toe over at the girls coach over at Woodson. He's going to be awesome. not phased at all. This is a kid that's grown up on the hardwood. I don't know, if their home is basketball tile or not. If the nursery was all basketball tile. This kid is not afraid of the moment. He's a ninth grader. He's going to be just fine. I mean, he looked composed out there starting at point guard. So, but he's a point guard. He's a freshman. I mean, physically. He's going to take some lumps. But Carlos has him out there playing Bishop Ireton. He's going to play that maybe not as challenging a schedule as some previous years, but it's a challenging schedule outside of the district. The national is going to be fun. Edison is going to be good as well. So Edison returns a lot of young guys. I think they're going to adjust. It's going to take a while to adjust. Isaiah Skin did so much last year. He was so fun to watch. He's at George Mason now. I think it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment as kids are like, well, we don't just wait for Isaiah to create for us, but they got a lot of talent too. I think Edison and Hayfield are just going to go at it, and I think they're both going to be right there. And I certainly agree with Hayfield being by the end of the year, good. I think that the Cam Prosper loss was a big loss
It's
though.
huge.
Because again, you want that one big kid, and he was like a 6'6", 6'7" kid, who could do a lot of things for that team and open up a lot of things. With him gone, it's not going to be as open. But that's only really going to hurt him against teams like Bishop Ireton, that can punish you inside, that are big, teams. So if Hayfield makes it to the state, which is completely possible again, they may be hurt at that level, but they're going to be good. There's no
Yeah.
question.
It's funny. Cam Prosper came to Hayfield to play football, and he was one of the guys I think was attracted to the program because of a chance to play on such a great team for a great coach. And he ended up, loving basketball so much that he transferred to a basketball academy. So it's a very interesting story. Edison, Coach Trey Ford is back. He was on hiatus last year. It's great to see. I know that generally in that conference, Annandale and TJ are always, usually third and fourth. And I hear Mount Vernon has a big guy.
Yeah, Mount Vernon does, and I got to verify that they both ended up there. There were rumors they, would go
Oh,
somewhere else. Mount Vernon's, one of the least transparent places as far as getting out rosters and things like that. But yeah, they're good. I believe one was a freshman, O'Neill Alati. I always said mispronounce his name, Alotny or Alati. Um, He's good. I mean, he's good. He plays the AAU circuits with all the, the best kids. Their footwork, the other kid, Corey Sutton, I can't remember which was I think Corey Sutton was a freshman last year. Another 6'5" kid with good footwork. So when you have two kids like that, as long as they're there, I mean, again, I haven't verified it yet. They're going to improve this
yeah,
year. And Mount Vernon still has some nice talent down at the end of Route 1 there.
yeah.
So they're going to be better. Now, again, you're looking at a team that only won like, a few games last year, kind of like Washington Liberty. How big is that jump going to be? I don't know, but they're going to be better. TJ, I believe, lost Mark Gray Mendez. So they have a new
He's not there
coach.
anymore.
Somebody said that. I saw a tweet from him that said, he was an assistant this year or something. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Mark or anything like that. That'll be odd if that's the case. But they're going to be well coached. They're obviously smart kids. They're gonna play effective in. Andale remains kind of a little bit of a sleeper that just can't quite get to where they want to be. They have a kid named Nathan Pewitt that's really good. And a first team, not many schools. We talked about Coulomb at Yorktown already. They get a first team guy back in Pewitt, who's a guard that does everything. And they have some athleticism as well. I noticed a tremendous dunk in their scrimmage the other day. And, they're not a pushover. So it remains, can the National beat the Patriot District in the playoffs, which has not been the case so far.
Yeah, I know in football they use PowerPoints, and the Nationals there was no teams in the postseason. It was all it was all this Patriot team. So it's very tough. Lewis and Falls Church, you think they'll can they improve this
Yeah,
year?
Falls Church will be better. Falls Church will definitely be better. I think they're well coached. And Justice will be better. Justice
Oh,
has
sorry.
some young, yeah, Justice threw out babies last year. But they got, one kid was 6'9". They got some kids that can play that are younger. Falls Church, actually, one of the most unreported rivalries around here is Falls Church Justice on the basketball court. And Falls Church is well coached too. Falls Church, there's just not the program depth, at those schools that some others enjoy. Lewis, I'm not sure what's going on at Lewis. We'll have to see what's going on at Lewis. I
It,
was there the other day. I don't even I can't even remember who they got as the coach. So
yeah, it's too bad.
it
Uh,
is.
well,
With the history there, obviously, and all that.
yeah. Well, they're unbelievable in soccer, if that's any consolation to you. I think they've been to the state tournament.
It is not.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's go to the Patriot district. Start with Woodson. Got all the way to the state final last year. Had an unbelievable run in postseason. They were playing such good basketball last year. Their upset of Oscar Smith on Oscar Smith's home floor, a
Yeah.
20-point win against a ferocious team. Just one of the most impressive results of last year. Anyway, but I don't think the Patriot was anywhere near as tough as it's been. Darius Bivens had moved on. There was a couple, maybe I don't want to say nights off, but it wasn't like the years before where there was no nights off. But anyway, it's still a very competitive conference.
Yeah, and a lot of good teams. Those transfers hurt. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think Coach Craig talked about it. Caden Chilton. I mean, that kid was fantastic, and it's going to hurt. Chris Morrison leaving West Potomac again is going to hurt. I mean, these are good players, but the quality of basketball remains there. And especially you mentioned Woodson. I think they're good. Like, you've talked about the Ryan Corallo kid. He's a legitimate, like 15 to 17 a night, good scoring guard. And then you got the kid, Steven Mayernick. This kid can dunk the living bejesus out of the ball. An athletic 6'4". And I made a kind of a stupid comparison comparing him to Will Taylor, the forward that they had that could bring, I think, the ball up the court against some of that Oscar Smith pressure and some of that other stuff. To compare him to, they're different players. But the fact remains, this is a 6'4", 6'5" guy that can jump out of the gym and do a lot of damage inside and program depth. They have it. So they're going to be right there. I mean, they'll take some lumps early, of course, but a lot of teams are going to take some lumps early.
Yeah.
The district is deep, and West Springfield and Robinson. I bring pride to you, Julian, to be able to say the Robinson Rams.
I've been hearing this a lot. I've been getting messages saying, "Don't sleep on Robinson. Don't sleep on
Yeah,
Robinson."
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I'd love to see you at the I've seen you in the Robinson gym, but I'd love to see you more in the
yeah.
Robinson
I
gym.
need to get
And I'm
back
a
there.
Robinson guy too. I coach there, and I have a great love for Robinson. Um, they're going to be good. They're mostly guard
That's what
oriented.
I hear. Young guards, right?
Yeah, well, some of them are, but they have two seniors, Noah Barnhart, the young Braxton Sebastian, I think is still there. I hope he's still there. Again, this is, when I do these previews, I'm like 95% sure. I'm never 100% sure of
Gotcha.
anything. Jordan Smith is their sophomore guard who kind of stepped in when there was injuries. And this kid is, the staff raves about him, hard worker, really good guard. They're deep there. The wild card is they have a freshman kind of big who's like a 6'5", 6'6" kid who's good, but again, freshman. If he can help, because they do have experienced bigs, they're just not like dominant bigs. They should be pretty good. West Springfield lost one kid to transfer, but they returned most of their roster, and they got a ton of kids that can shoot and a ton of kids that can handle the ball, kind of like Oakton in a different way. I like Oakton as more of a defensive team too, that can really put pressure on you. I don't think West Springfield can put as much defensive pressure on you, but they can score and they've got experience coming back. So you got a deep district in Fairfax and Alexandria City. Alexandria City, unfortunately, got hit by a transfer as well.
Again?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It wasn't the impact of Adarius Bivens, but they're probably the guy who's going to be their leading scorer this year. Really good guard transferred. But they have young talent. They have talent. They always have talent at AC. They're a sleeping giant. They're going to
Oh
wake
yeah.
up one day and kill everybody. Fairfax, they lost their all everything guy in Cam Yingling, but they return a 6'7" center
Hmm.
and a guy named Gavin. I'll butcher his last name, so I'm not. I don't have it in front of me. So Bermudez, I believe. I might be right on that one. He's a very good guard. They're going to be better this year. And of course, then you have South County and West Potomac, who are you could argue South. I would argue South County is the favorite. Johnny Anderson could be the best scoring guard basically in the region. He's a heck of a basketball player. You got the coach's son, Michael Robinson, who's just a 6'8" guy that makes threes. I mean, right there. I mean, and then you got a million talented younger guards backing them up. They've had a problem scoring in recent years, kind of when they need to. They've lost so many like 52, 54 games. But I think this year this is their year basically in that district. And West Potomac, even though that's why I love what you do. Thank
Well,
you
thank
for
you.
what you do.
Yeah.
I listened to your podcast the other day and I found out Forty from West Potomac broke his foot. I don't know if he's coming back. He's a good player, so that's going to hurt them. But you know how that is with Coach Houston. Life goes on, next man up. And he's got two really good starting guards out there. And if you've seen them play in the preseason, they have balance too. They have big guys that can rebound. They're physical. You know how that goes. Wouldn't surprise anybody if they're a surprise. Well, I love how I phrase that. A surprise state tournament team. And, they were so close, obviously, last year. They can do it again. They could win the district.
Yeah, it
Oh, and
would
I forgot Lake Braddock,
like Reddick, yeah.
one of the best centers in the area, Nate McComb. It starts with him. He's got great hands. He can finish at the rim, and Coach Metros returns almost everybody.
Oh,
He
great.
lost a couple of good players, but he returns almost anybody. What style is he going to use this year? What's he going to do this year? I mean, who knows? I can't wait to see Lake Braddock, but they could win it too.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's going to be a really fun district, and it's still a deep district.
Yeah. I know that Coach Demetrius Bryan is going to stick around until he can get back on top again. He's a competitive guy. He loves to coach. So we'll definitely see how he'll do. Well, let's go to Prince William. Let's start with the Cedar. Patriot perennially in the state playoffs, in the state tournament. Sherman is, as you saw, unabashed in describing his team. I think he said this team's got more offense than the team that had Tay Barber and Isaiah Vick. They had the point guard, so they must really have some offense this year.
Yeah, I listened to that, and I'll be honest with you, that probably moved him up two or three parts in my rankings. Because when he's talking like that,
That's
I
scary.
believe him.
Yeah.
I totally believe him. And I remember last year when they did have the transfer, the Ross kid, to Highland, and the first thing I said was, "But it wasn't Elijah Gaskins, was it?" There. No, it wasn't.
No, it was
But
yeah.
I was worried it was
No, he
because
stayed.
that kid is incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and their guards are just really, really good, and they're really, really deep. One of the joys of starting Nova Hoops was I went out to Patriot early, when I started the website, and Sherm kind of gave me a nice little like view of a practice and kind of the program. And one of the pleasures of doing the website is just seeing his program grow. And it's just kids, more and more kids every year. He's got young kids that are just excited to play. The JV team is fun to watch. And I mean, they're going to be good this year. I mean, and they are a threat to do damage. They're a threat to take anyone out. and
We're
make
talking
it.
about offense. We're talking about Sherman. Sherman is a very underrated defensive coach. His teams
Yeah.
really defend.
Yeah, I mean, his team doesn't tolerate it if you don't defend. I
Yeah,
mean, he will pull you immediately
yeah,
if you're not doing what you're supposed to on that end. I
yeah,
mean, I have nothing but admiration for their program,
yeah.
and it's been fun to watch. And this, you know, it, Woodson last year, none of us really expected them to be there. We thought they were a good team and they were a state tournament team. Um, Patriot could be that team this year, and it has to do a lot with what side of the bracket you're on and all this stuff. But there's no one really to stop them, I think, except Patriot. Gainesville is going to be good, but they're young. A lot of their pieces are young. So I think Patriot, this could be, the year. I look at it this year like I almost expect to see Patriot or Potomac at least in the Final Four this year.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. Gainesville, I understand they got a transfer from private school. Do you know who that kid is?
Yeah, I think that's Micah Young. And again, I'm always 95% sure of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, the
I'm
transfer.
never completely sure because it could be he transferred back and another kid came in. Yeah, I believe that's Micah Young, who's a good, very good, talented guard. They lost a guy named Cam Kane Brangman. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize to Cam, who was really one of my favorite players last year. Just so athletic guard. But they bring him in. So, and they have other underrated players on that roster that I'm going to hopefully get into a little more this weekend, mention some of them. They can play. So I'm looking at Gainesville making a run pretty far, at least into regionals this year,
Did that
and
Cam
giving
Young?
Patriot trouble.
I'm sorry.
Giving Patriot trouble.
Yeah. Well, the Cam kid you mentioned from Gainesville, did he transfer or did he graduate?
He transferred because he was only a sophomore last
Oh,
year.
okay. That's too bad.
They had the big kid. They had White.
Preston White?
Yep.
Mhm.
He went to, I believe, Mary Washington.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember. I get them all confused. But Mary Washington, I got to get to see. That's one of the things about living on 95 that I
Yeah.
love. I'm going to drop in and see Mary Washington a lot because they got, Jay Randall from
Yeah.
Patriot, a couple Patriot kids.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see them.
Yeah.
But off
I'm
topic.
jealous about I love the historic nature of the corridor. So it's interesting that the whole we got to talk about that. Let's talk about independence now. They really drew the short end of the stick. Freedom gets to go into the comfy confines of the Loudoun districts. In Independence, they get the buzzsaw going to the 6B, which is the toughest region, and probably in the state only because there's 18 or 19 teams, and some of the regions are 8 or 9 teams, like the Loudoun region. So it's unfortunate for Independence. In football this year, they had a really good team, and they took a beating in that conference. There's some really good teams, but the interesting thing about Cedar and basketball, it's not like the Cedar District of 4 or 5 years ago, where you had even Osborne had Tay Barber. I mean, every team was good, probably. Maybe Osborne Park was down, but Battlefield was great. Gainesville was tough. Unity Reed was always challenging. But anyway, the conference is not strong. So if you have a decent year, you should qualify for the district tournament, which is not a given in that region.
Yeah, it's tougher now. And I would actually argue, though, Brian Nelson at Independence might find some success because he's a fantastic coach in that district. Independence has had the things where, a lot of their athletes are more concerned with other sports.
Yeah.
Baseball, I know, is very good there. And I think yeah, football is my understanding they're very good. So you have a lot of multi-sport athletes at Independence. They do have some good seniors coming back, so I think they're going to be good against those, the Unity Reed, Osborne Park, Osborne, because the bottom of the district kind of isn't as strong. Although I would say James West over the new coach over at Osborne Park, I would expect him, especially with the girls program, running the juggernaut that they are. I would expect progress on the boys' side at Osborne Park. And Unity Reed has just been tough right now. I think we've talked about it before. They have talent over there, but there's not program depth. So we'll see how Independence does. Freedom, yeah, is coming into kind of. I would argue Freedom got the worst as far as from a basketball standpoint.
Yeah.
Independence isn't gonna get, but they're well coached under Coach Nelson. Are they going to be Patriot? A Battlefield has a new coach. So, on the basketball side, on the Cedar Run, I would argue it's a little out of sorts. And yeah, it doesn't look the same as it used to.
Yeah. With Randy Bills, who's I think a tremendous coach. I think you worked with Randy, I believe Robinson, or he was
No, I just missed Randy
he's
at
really,
Robinson.
but did a great job, and they had such a good energy in that gym. I mean, there was nothing better than a Battlefield Patriot basketball game. I mean, that gym was packed. The energy was unreal. A lot of times it went over the top, and the fouls were hard, and the crowd was rude. But it was a great environment. So hopefully,
Yeah.
Battlefield can get back. I mean, it's a great demographic in terms of they have a relatively diverse student population. They got the growing area of the county, so they're going to get the athletes, but Patriot gets them too, and Gainesville gets them too. So
Yeah.
well, anyway, we'll wait and see. Let's go to Cardinal. Cardinal probably in terms of athleticism, they get athletes every year. All these teams they're athletic, they can play ball. The coaching's good. You're going to see a good game almost every night in the Cardinal.
Yeah, I'm excited to get more into it this year. I think Potomac is going to have a very good year. People aren't talking about Potomac enough, I think, because they lost Amani Asari to
Yeah.
Highland, who is the ultra quick, very talented guard.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a loss. I mean, that guy was so good. Once Potomac got a lead and you put the ball in his hands, it was over. But they got another guy too at guard that I really like. That's very talented, a guy by the name of Harlem Lyons. Real just tough guard coming back. They got a guy. I was gonna sit here and tell you, Colgan is gonna be better as well because they returned a lot of their guys. I think they're missing Evan Fleming, who transferred to Potomac, though. This was a second team all district guy. I believe he's at Potomac now.
Mm.
And Potomac also returns two, athletic 6'5", 6 to 6'7" guys that were all district in Kong, Tangwa, and Ryden. God, what is his name? Let me look that up real quick.
Mm.
Ryden Rodney Sandy. I always butcher one of his names as well. Those kids, they've got height and athleticism and some tough talented guards. Asari was the headliner, no doubt. But they're going to be good this year. And they had that district. Saw Forest Park the other night. They're young. They lost another kid to transfer. They're, the dynamic guard that they had, who was really fun to watch. I actually showed up to watch Forest Park Wakefield, thinking he was still there because I forgot he transferred.
Yeah.
That's been me a lot this offseason. Forest Park has got young talent though. They didn't know it. They brought off the bench a 6'5", 6'6" freshman kid who looked, good. And they've got smaller but solid guards. And they've got height. They have the ingredients. It's going to take them a while. They're young. That transfer did hurt them. But the district, and nobody talks about Garfield. Garfield is good. Garfield, the coach's sons play at Garfield. They were solid last year, but they'll be solid again. Woodbridge is kind of the weird one because they get kids in and out and they play football. And, I'm never sure who's playing for Woodbridge, but they return two all district guys in Casey Jones Carr and sophomore now, Jaden Jones. So, can you hear me still?
perfectly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I hit the internet browser by accident. Yeah, so they're going to be good. It's a fun. Can you see my picture? Did I screw up? I'm
No, no,
sorry.
you're still perfect. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good district, and I'm looking forward to covering it this year. Deeper Freedom Woodbridge, always has some athletes. It's just a question of, whether they play basketball or not.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a good district this year. I'm looking forward to covering it more.
Did we mention? I know Hilton has struggled. Did we mention Hilton?
We did not. So they've been another one where it's been like right when I first became a website, as you recall, when Doug Craig won his state championship with Hilton, Hilton was in the state title game as recently as that, about 9 years ago. And just, it just hasn't happened recently that, they've had transfers. Whenever I get excited about some of their young players and they're not there the next year. But they have young talent there. I go to a Hilton game and they're always in games, I didn't think they'd be in. But it's been tough the last few years. So I can't tell you much about them until I go see them.
Yeah. Is Barry Smith still coach? Do you know?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know,
It's B-
I thought he was,
yeah.
but I don't know. I have not paid particular attention to Hilton the
Yeah.
last 1 or 2 years. They've only won a handful of games.
Barry was a very underrated player. His brother was Frankie Smith, who played. He was a major recruit in football. Oklahoma wanted him, which was a big deal back
Oh,
then. And
wow.
his mother, and he ended up playing basketball for ODU. He was a four-year starter there. Great, had a great college career. Frankie was his younger brother. I mean, I'm sorry, Barry was his younger brother. Also took Mount Vernon to the state. He took him to the state semis, I believe, as a point guard. Had a great, and he also played at Old Dominion. Just a great guy. So
Yeah,
let's go to
I'll get you
Loudon.
back on Hilton. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
definitely get a look at Hilton pretty soon. So,
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, let's go to Loudoun County, which I think on paper returned a lot of really good players. I know living out here, this is like I said, a brand new area for me, and I guess it's kind of like you in Stafford. I got a chance to kind of get to know the culture a little bit, and I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the football as well. Let's start with the Potomac district, which is the Class 5 district. We have uh, we have Freedom South Riding moving in, Independence moving out. Last year, Riverside was unbelievable. They went 27-2, got some home cooking in the state semi or state quarters on the Albemarle's home floor, which is probably I don't like the idea of having home and home for that late in the postseason. But anyway, Potomac Falls and Coach Jeff Falls, they're supposed to be strong once again because they were young last year. But anyway, what do you think about the Potomac?
the Potomac District, I think is going to be really good. And, let's start really with Riverside. Riverside isn't going to be bad. Everybody's saying, they had the transfer, Ridgeway transferred to Evergreen Christian. So kind of people have kind of overlooked them a little bit. Max Lawson returns, and he's one of the best guards in the area. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, he's electric. Start with him, and you have a program over there at Riverside that's got program depth. You're very familiar with Potomac Falls. They were pretty young last year, and all their young talent, especially in the backcourt, is back. They're going to be better this year. I think last year was kind of yeah, they're going to win games, but they're not the Potomac Falls that's, a danger to go in the States, and all of that. I think that was a given. And part of that was Riverside's dominance as well. But that district is deep, and Freedom has been playing well. In recent years, I watched them last year, the Freedom South Riding team. They beat Gainesville at Gainesville's home floor at a game I was at. They have a player named, a senior named Charlie Boone, who's an exceptional player. You'll enjoy, and I'm sure you'll get a chance to see Freedom this year. They're going to be solid. They're going to be a dangerous team. Briar Woods is going to be decent. Their guy coming back at point guard has already signed with, I believe, Hood.
Good. Yeah. What's his name
Yeah.
again? Chris, do you remember his name?
Oh gosh, what
It's
is
okay. Sorry about that. I'll put it in the comments. We got it.
Yeah, I forget. I knew I was going to forget a name. I even wrote down names this time, and I did.
Yeah.
But he's a wonderful guard. And I'll get it back to you.
No.
But and I'll put it in the comments when I post this on my way. I'll
Yeah.
put his
No,
name
I'll
in the
put it.
comments.
Yeah, we'll take care of it. Yeah.
But yeah, he's really good. And Briar Woods is a well-coached team. And you've got a good kind of up for grabs district. We haven't talked much about Champ. I don't know much about Champ. They're kind of like Hilton to me of late. I haven't, they've had some talented players out there, certainly.
Yeah.
Light Ridge, is Light Ridge still in that district? I
They
always
are.
forget.
They are for now. Yeah.
No, I laugh about it. They had their best guy, which went to Paul the Sixth, though. Farrell out there. He's a good player. And Paul the Sixth snatched him up. So it's going to be tough for them. They're going to be young. But the district is strong. And here's the sleeper team, another sleeper team, Stonebridge.
Yeah.
Stonebridge, this might be Stonebridge's year. And I watched them in a scrimmage against Dominion the other night. And they didn't look particularly good, but it's like, again, which football players are coming back? I don't know. I can't give you a good thing from Stonebridge. I had heard their point guard that Jeremiah Stanford was back. I don't know if that's true. He went to Fairfax Christian and then supposedly he came back. Fairfax Christian actually got one of Paul the Sixth cards.
It's so
And
crazy.
then is my understanding is that Stanford went back to Stonebridge. Now, I don't know if that's true. In any case, regardless if they have him or not, they're a sleeper team because they got young talent that is now, seniors and juniors. Carter Burns is a guard out there. I really like Kevin Reyes. Those guys are good. I played with Carter Burns' dad. I knew
Oh,
him. And they've got a lot of talent out there. So that's kind of my sleeper team to really keep an eye on to watch their progress. I got to see that this is every year with Stonebridge. I got to see a final roster with them. I don't know who's playing, who decided to concentrate on football and needs how much time off and all that stuff. But team to watch, good district this
yeah.
year.
I will say about Stonebridge, historically, they've had football players come off the field late and have helped out right away. They have at least, I think, six Power Five football players this year. Unbelievable talents. I'll be interested to see if any of those kids play basketball. Stonebridge almost beat Riverside in regionals or something last year. I think they took them to overtime or it was a 1 point game. So, they were very close to really, beating Riverside, even though they weren't that incredibly talented last year. But, maybe they were 1 year away. I did want to shout out Josh Orbita, guard at Potomac Falls. He reminds me of the kid that you mentioned at Potomac from Forest Park, the Jaden kid from Forest Park. Joshua is a junior, left-handed guy, scores well, can handle it well. So let's go to Dulles, one of the four region class four districts. These four districts, they've got some Division One players. They're very small districts, so it's not the hardest thing in the world to advance to regionals. But yeah, but the games are going to be fun. The gyms are small but packed. Let's start with the Dulles district. You got Heritage with everybody back, and you got Tuscarora with Colin Bird and company back.
Yeah, obviously, we were at the Heritage Tuscarora game last year. This is going to be something. Colin Bird is a fantastic player. He's going to average 20 a game, if not 25 a game, I would imagine. And they've got a lot of talent back, in the backcourt. Hayden Collins, Chaz Battaglia. Uh, those are good guards.
Yeah.
And then, we've talked about Heritage, kind of the team of destiny that's slowly arriving. Um, they weren't quite on a regional level last year. I think it was them that got handled by John Hanley at regionals pretty easily. These are still young guys, even if they're older guys for their grade or whatever, and I don't know that. I think the key with them is, and they're very good, Mason Miller, all those guys, Jordan Garland, and I think the key is like a kid that you really like. I know Dylan Williams, their
Yeah.
point guard. He's kind of how far they'll take
Yeah.
them because he's top tier talent that has been, I think, somewhat inconsistent at the point guard. As much as he's still a first team district guy, he can be better, I think. And I think he will be better this year. And I think he'll really go as far as he takes them essentially. And one of the things with point guard, I see it with teams, and with Jay Coulomb coming back is like, okay, I lost all the guys I played with last year. How much do I score now? I think in a different way Dylan Williams is up against that. When do I take over games,
Yeah.
basically? When do I have to really assert myself? I'm a distributor first. This is the kind of guy that gets like 8 rebounds and it's 7 assists in a game. And you're like, wow, an all around good player. I think he has to take over some games this year to get past this strong kind of regional competition that you're seeing in Loudoun this year.
Yeah.
That starts with Tuscarora.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dylan has got a he's a great body on him, great athlete, always under control. I think you're right. I don't want to say too unselfish, but he's unselfish, and he's got a game that reminds me a little bit. This is a lot of pressure of Darius Bivens. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of how far he wants to take it,
Yeah.
because he has the game. I know they're very close. All what's the guy Liam, all those kids they play AAU together, so they're very close.
Yeah.
And whether he wants to separate himself and be a truly elite guard, because he has the game. But a great kid, great, no knocks to being unselfish. And you mentioned Tuskies, and but yeah. Anyway, Tuscarora with Coach Newkirk does a really fantastic job getting those kids to play at a high level. So it's going to be Tusky and Heritage easily separate themselves. I know that Valley lost Tal Rose. I hear their point guard, who was a battler, is not playing this year. I don't have any
Oh,
confirmation of that.
I do
Um,
not. That's another one of those programs I kind of like Stonebridge. I need to see a final roster
yeah,
closer to December.
yeah. And I don't know anything about Rockridge or Dominion. What do you expect from them?
Yeah, Rock Ridge is a nice program. They've got a good coach out there that does a good job. Rock Ridge is well coached, and they have, but it goes into, program depth and all of that. They had a guy that was first team all district last year. Dominion too. Dominion had a really good year last year. I watched Dominion in some games and they looked fine against Stonebridge. I know they returned a couple all district guys. Let me see. I got it here somewhere. Yeah, I'm not gonna go names. I know Jaden Byers was a kid, but I can't remember if he's the senior or he's the one coming back. I want to say he graduated, but I could be wrong. I have this all in front, I got all these notes in front of me on it. But yeah, I mean, those are good programs. Now Heritage and Tuscarora are gonna be just tough to stop this year.
Yeah.
But Jay at Rockridge and Dominion, they're good coaches and good programs. They're having some fun out there. It's going to be tough, and these mini districts, that they put you in out there in the class four is can be brutal if all the teams are good in your district.
No, exactly right. Well, Dulles, the other district that makes up that region, is the Catoctin.
Hmm.
I think that's probably the one horse race this year. I think Broad Run is going to be unbelievable in that district.
Yeah, I mean Ryan Brzezinski, the 6'8" kid, who can shoot from outside. This is his year too. I mean, I've been watching him since he was a freshman at Briar Woods. Skinny kid who could still get it done. even with a freshman, and he's ready now. He's ready to dominate. Adam Purdue is the other kid that's going to play college basketball out there, shooting guard, who's fantastic. And it's not just them. I believe you had the Broad Run coach on.
Coach Crow does a great job too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not just them. I mean, it's kids that have been playing together for a while now,
Yeah.
with Brzezinski and Purdue and some of those Loudoun AAU programs out there.
They got a
And
point guard. They got a point guard from the JV team from Paul the Six. That's it's
hmm
gonna is gonna play a lot. I think he's gonna start. He's a good player. I
yeah,
can't think of his name, but he's gonna be a good player.
yeah. I mean, they're good. I mean, they're just not, and they are going to be in our. I'll tell you right now, a little spoiler. They are going to be in our rankings. And it reflects Loudoun County. Are they the crown jewel of Loudoun County this year? Maybe,
Yeah.
because they're so senior oriented. Seniors are the best thing to have, because they're as experienced as anyone. Are they the crown jewel of Loudoun County this year? Could be.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet too much against them. I think the clear second choice in that district would be Woodgrove because Coach
Yeah,
KP
probably.
has built a nice program.
Yeah, and he really is. He's one of the best young coaches out there. I mean, but I say this all the time. I can't think of really any hardly bad coaches around here. Northern Virginia is so stacked with coaches. But KP is, he's fantastic coach. Program, again, he's building a program. And you're starting to see that. He's going to miss the big kid Marsh this year, who's just dominant inside. Again, you have that one dominant. It doesn't even have to be dominant, just a double double guy. But Marsh was dominant. He was a big kid. It's going to be, it's hard. Woodgrove, Loudoun Valley is the rival. They're not in the same district even, which is, again, we could go into that all day.
Yeah, that's so.
Loudoun Valley returns a lot of their guys. We'll see who again when we get the final roster. But it's starting to get fun out there. I mean, just good basketball and good basketball programs out there. Probably one of the, if you can find the schools, with your GPS, if you know which exit to get off of right there, you got good basketball out there. It's worth the trip,
Yeah,
basically, if you're willing, pay the toll road. The toll road is cheap compared to the I-95 $100 HOV. So,
yeah,
I recommend it, and what they're doing out there is good. They had a freshman point guard, I think you saw last year,
yeah.
Woodgrove, that I expect to make big strides this year as a sophomore. And they do return some all-district players, although they lose Marsh. So they're going to be solid. They're just going to have a hard time getting in that upper echelon, especially this year with Loudon being so good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Chris, I think Loudoun County, I saw them a lot last year. Parkview, probably they have some work to do, but obviously best luck to those two. I know you have anything to add on those two schools or
Parkview has a couple of good players.
oh,
They're fun to watch. And again, it just gets in the program depth. They don't have the program depth some of the other players. And what was the other team? I can't even
oh
remember.
County, Loudoun County.
Loudoun County. Loudoun County is a little bit of a sleeper too. They're starting to build back up. And they've historically been very good,
Yeah,
as gotten some good teams, got to the state finals. What was it, like 4 or 5 years ago or
yeah,
six? Who knows? They're a solid program. That's one of the teams I'm going to take a closer look at early, just to kind of see where they are.
yeah. Well, that's great, Chris. Let's quickly talk about two other schools that are kind of outside the area, at least the conferences that we cover. Let's talk about Meridian and let's talk about Hanley this year. Two teams.
Yeah.
Hanley, Meridian's got some work to do, but I know Coach Smith will have them ready by the end of the season. And Hanley may be one of the best teams in the state.
Yeah, Hanley's going to be in our top 10. I'll tell you that right now. I won't tell you where. But John Hanley is going to be fantastic. They did lose one kid to transfer. Couldn't tell you which one. Not one of the guys you would probably know, I would think.
Interesting. Yeah.
But it was significant. They're just amazing. They've got Braun Duane. that can, and I'm probably butchering his name. I know the Braun is right. The Dwayne, did I say that right? Dewin.
Yeah.
Um, he can shoot. I mean, he is just one of the most fun kids to watch. I mean, just to do whatever he did, I can't even remember what it was, 53 points in 17 minutes. I mean, I can't do that alone. You know what I mean? Like in a YMCA gym. Fantastic. And, there's other kids too. I'm going to talk more about them in depth coming up, and really take a deep dive into their team. But other than Westfield, I would say, they're almost like Westfield this year. And they're a major threat to win states this year. Meridian lost a great senior class, a memorable senior class, but they're a little deeper than people realize too. Pretty good program out there for as far as depth, even though they're a class three school. Let me just say that it's a crime, Meridian, and I'll do my schedule thing. I know why, I know the PowerPoints, and I want the home court and all that Bolshevik. But Meridian and John Hanley should have played last year. I mean, that would have been fantastic. But I get it. They're better than people think this year, though. Will Davis is their shooter, who's now a senior. He was with all the kids last year. A major rotation piece. He's back. Start with him, and then you have program depth of kids that are going to step in and play. Now, they're not going to be like last year, but they're going to be solid. I wish I ran out of time. Meridian scrimmage Marshall last night, and I really kind of wanted to see that. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to pull it up on NFHS uh, if I have time today. I'm going to watch it at some point. I'm eager to see that, basically,
Yeah.
to see where Meridian stacked up against Marshall. And I bet you they stacked up with them, though. I bet you it was close,
Yeah.
and Marshall being one of the better teams in the Liberty District. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that'll be great. My buddy Keith Leonard's Matthew Leonard's dad Keith was at the game, so I'll text him and I'll share with you what he tells me.
Please.
Well, let's end, and I appreciate this, and I think we made the right decision waiting on the girls because I don't want to give them shortchange them if that's okay with you. Let's end with the private schools. You can just give us an overview. There's a lot more private because you mentioned Fairfax Christian. I forgot about them. There's Virginia Academies. I've seen them. They got the kid that was at the Rochester kid. Obviously, Paul the Sixth. There's Bishop Ireton. There's St. Stephen's. Give us a little bit of your private school highlights for Northern Virginia.
Yeah, really good. I mean, again, this year it's a strong year for private schools, obviously. I would say I was looking forward to Jamar Betts from Episcopal was one of the kids that went to St. James. So that hurts them, but Episcopal is going to be better than they have been the last 2, 3, 4 years. Start with them. St. Stephen's, St. Agnes was very good. They returned their top three in the back court, and they brought in a couple kids to play the front court. Eager to see them. Potomac School is going to be up this year. They've been waiting. They've kind of taken their lumps. I saw O'Connell beat them, down tremendously last year. They're ready. They've got their main guns are seniors now. They're going to be good. Flint Hill had a thing. One of the kids, Fitzgerald, one of their upcoming kids, I was looking for. He went to Highland this year, though. I mean, I'm sorry, in the last few months. That's going to hurt them, but they're not going to be bad. I mean, they've got good kids. Kobe Davis, a football kid. Flint
Kobe
Hill.
Davis is still in high school.
Right, can you believe?
How
Oh,
many
not
years?
Kobe Davis. I'm sorry. I said the wrong name. I said the wrong name.
Oh, you're
You're
talking
right.
about
You're right.
Harris.
I panicked you for a minute there
Harris.
because Kobe graduated a few years ago,
Okay,
or
Harris.
last year. I don't even remember. Yeah, that's my bad. You caught me there.
Yeah. No, it's
Um,
Harris. The guy's name is
yeah,
Harris.
yeah, yeah.
He's a
You got me. You
he's a
got me.
tremendous athlete.
Yeah,
Tremendous.
incredible football player too. That's who I meant. And I was at meeting. Shout out to Capital Hoops. They had a Mac Media Day that I was at. And they've got some guys that are going to step up. They're going to be solid. I'll tell you, O'Connell might win the WCAC. You start with Bivens, and then you have Corey Dixon, Juan Dixon's kid in
Oh,
the
is that right?
backcourt.
Cool.
Oh yeah, worth the price of admission. I mean, you're definitely going to want to catch O'Connell one game. Paul the Sixth lost, like I mentioned. It's like people are, there are bigger things than Paul the Sixth out there. I'm like,
Crazy. How could that happen?
it blew my mind when I went through their roster. I was like, oh, what happened to this kid? What happened to this kid? And I'm just like, whoa. But they're still going to be fantastic. Jordan Smith is one of the best players in the nation in his class, and he leads Paul the Six. And Paul the Six always has talent. I think Brian, Colligan, the West Potomac coach, ex West Potomac girls coach. I think his kid is coming up through there. It's going to be
Oh,
fun to watch. There's a lot of young talent at Paul the Six. There's still, if you're betting man, you still bet on Paul the Six.
yeah.
But Bishop Ireton also, they've been kind of, and they lost one transfer to Highland, a guy by the name of Rip Cody. But they're very good, as Coach Poindexter will tell you. Silas Devonish is also one of the best point guards around in the DMV. He's their headliner at point guard, and they've got good players around him. WCAC loaded, and then we talked about Gillian and Bethel, kind of the develop the players individually types. Highland, the rise of Highland. Everybody was eager to see once Nate was gone, and the kind of guys that have been there forever, Chance Perkins, Jamel Perkins' kid. Um, you know, well, is Highland going to be, they're still going to be there, but they're not going to be like they were. Well, they're probably going to be like they were because they're brought in some fantastic talent. Asari, we already mentioned from Potomac,
He's great.
Blake Fitzgerald from Flint Hill, a couple other guys. They're right there now with Paul the Sixth and O'Connell.
Yeah.
And then you have Evergreen, like we mentioned, they got Mason Ridgeway, Virginia Academy, you mentioned with RJ Jones and Chris Rochester. It is a very strong, and Fairfax Christian, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention them. They returned everybody from the Division II state champions. Private schools are loaded this year, man.
God,
But now you have people picking their bones for prospects too. So it's a crazy world we live
I
in.
know there's where are all the players going to come from, all these schools.
Yeah.
So, well, look, Chris, I know this is a really busy time for you. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and make sure folks who are listening support Nova Hoops. Great information. Obviously, sponsorship opportunities, whatever. Support this guy. He makes the season so we can really enjoy it. So anyway, look, I'll have this out really quickly, and folks are going to be. What time is your Nova 19 released?
Well, in theory, let's go about 4 and 6 o'clock, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's more like 6 and 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I mean, I just never know. I got to write it up. I got to write a paragraph with each team,
Uh,
that kind of thing.
well, I'll try to have
Yeah.
this out by noon. So hopefully, got people who are listening. 6 p.m. Get your browser set so you can be the first to see who's going to top Chris's poll. But anyway,
Yeah.
Chris, again, I appreciate your time, and we'll do the girls next week.
Yeah, anytime you want, I'll make time for you, buddy. What you do. Thank you for what you do. I mean, I listen to it, and those long days going up and down 95, when you have a podcast, it helps. So
Oh,
I
well, thank you.
appreciate you.
Well, it's a lot of fun. We're lucky that we have great coaching and players and great drama with which we can talk about and occupy. It's great to have these hobbies. Sometimes probably we spend too much time on our hobbies, but I'm so excited the basketball's here, so it's going to be
Here
great.
it is.
Yeah,
We're in it now, buddy.
it's like ready or not, here we are. So
Here we are. I look forward to seeing you come down from the stands randomly when I'm at a game.
yeah, and one of these days I
Yeah.
want to when you get your lake house built, I can't wait to come down and
Oh,
and, and
you're
check
well.
check you out.
Anytime, my friend, anytime. Definitely if you come down to Richmond for the States, I'll have a function the night before and I got to build the thing
You
first
got to
though.
build it first. That's first things first. So anyway, well, Chris, again, I know you're busy. Thanks again, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Julian.
But you're welcome. Have a good one now. Thanks.
You too.